In a previous video, I tried to show statues of Manjusri Bodhisattva and Samantabhadra Bodhisattva and didn't get their mounts into the picture. Namely, I failed to show Manjusri's lion and Samantabhadra's elephant. So anyway, I had promised I would do another video, and actually I think it's going to take me 2 videos to highlight those 2 bodhisattvas along with 2 others, one of whom I've spoken of a fair amount and the other whom I've merely mentioned, namely Kuan Yin and Maitreya Bodhisattva. And what I'm going to do is read some excerpts from Wikipedia as I'm focusing on these 4 great cosmic bodhisattvas of Mahayana Buddhism. The first of whom is Avalokitesvara, which in Sanskrit means regarder of the cries of the world. Avalokitesvara, as I've indicated previously, is a bodhisattva who embodies the compassion of all Buddhas. This bodhisattva is variably depicted as male or female, and may also be referred to simply as Kuan Yin, which is Chinese for Avalokitesvara. And, you're obviously looking at 2 porcelain statues of a female Kuan Yin. What are more details about what Kuan Yin, her name, means? She who looks down upon sound. She who looks down upon the cries of sentient beings who need her help. She who perceives the world's lamentations. She who always looks upon all beings with the eye of compassion. According to Mahayana doctrine, Kuan Yin is the bodhisattva who has made a great vow to assist sentient beings in times of difficulty, and to postpone her own Buddhahood until she has assisted every being on earth in achieving nirvana. The Lotus Sutra is generally accepted to be the earliest literature teaching about the doctrines of Kuan Yin. In chapter 25, Kuan Yin is described as a compassionate bodhisattva who hears the cries of sentient beings and who works tirelessly to help those who call upon her name. One prominent Buddhist story tells of Kuan Yin vowing never to rest until she had freed all sentient beings from samsara. Despite strenuous efforts, she realizes that still many unhappy beings were yet to be saved. After struggling to comprehend the needs of so many, her head splits into 11 pieces. Amitabha Buddha, seeing her plight, gives her 11 heads with which to hear the cries of the suffering. Upon hearing these cries and comprehending them, Kuan Yin attempts to reach out to all those who need aid, but found that her 2 arms shattered into pieces. Once more, Amitabha Buddha comes to her aid and invests her with 1,000 arms with which to aid the suffering multitudes. You'll remember perhaps that Amitabha Buddha is also known as Amida Buddha, who is the Buddha in the western part of the universe, who is the object of worship for Pure Land Buddhists, such as myself. Kuan Yin in Tibetan language is Chen Re Zig. And just as a sidebar, in Tibetan Buddhism, Tara, a quite famous, perhaps most famous figure within that tradition, came into existence from a single tear shed by Chen Re Zig. When the tear fell to the ground, it created a lake, and a lotus opening in the lake revealed Tara. In another version of this story, Tara emerges from the heart of Chen Re Zig. In either version, it is Chen Re Zig's, in other words, Kuan Yin's outpouring of compassion, which manifests Tara as a being. I want to go from here to focusing on Manjusri. And there is that lion that I tried to show in the previous video. I also mentioned that at times Manjusri is shown carrying a sword, and the excerpts that I will read will give an explanation of that sword. Manjusri is a bodhisattva associated with transcendent wisdom. The Sanskrit name Manjusri can be translated as gentle glory. Scholars have identified Manjusri as the oldest and most significant bodhisattva in Mahayana literature. Manjusri is first referred to in early Mahayana texts, such as the Prajnaparamita Sutras, and through this association, very early in the tradition, he came to symbolize the embodiment of prajna, or transcendent wisdom. The Lotus Sutra assigns him a pure land called Vimala, which, according to the Avatamsaka Sutra, is located in the east. His pure land is predicted to be one of the two best pure lands in all of existence, in all the past, present, and future. When he attains Buddhahood, his name will be Universal Sight. In the Lotus Sutra, Manjusri also leads the Naga king's daughter to enlightenment. Manjusri is depicted as a male bodhisattva wielding a flaming sword in his right hand, representing the realization of transcendent wisdom which cuts down ignorance and duality. Manjusri is often depicted as riding on a blue lion or sitting on the skin of a lion. This represents the use of wisdom to tame the mind, which is compared to riding or subduing a ferocious beast. And maybe I can show this small statue. Of Manjusri. Riding his lion. Manjusri is one of the four great bodhisattvas of Chinese Buddhism, the other three being Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha, who is Jizo in Japanese, and I will put a significant focus on him in a future video. Also a Bodhisattva of Avalokitesvara, whom we just spoke of, and Bodhisattva Samantabhadra, who we will focus on next. In China, Manjusri is often paired with Bodhisattva Samantabhadra. And now, so as to avoid the problem I had last time, which was going over 10 minutes, I will show Samantabhadra's elephants, his elephant in these two porcelain statues, but I will refrain from speaking about him until part 2. Namo Amida Butsu.